How dare you? I will never forgive you for hurting my precious daughter. Even Edward is angry. How will you take responsibility for this? My mother-in-law is furious, screaming at me over the phone. My sister-in-law has been in a hit-and-run accident after she supposedly turned away from me. She is upset that I'm the cause of it. Wait a minute. I have no idea what you're talking about. Edward, my father-in-law, takes over the phone and tells me how it happened, but I have no recollection of it at all. It's a misunderstanding. I wasn't even there. I try to explain to my in-laws repeatedly, but they don't listen to me at all. Sandy is hurt, and it's my fault? What have I done? I don't know what to do, so I ask my husband for help. He then says, "Oh, that day." I'm stunned to hear his story. I'm still unaware at this point that there is horrifying truth hidden in this accident. My name is Emily, 29 years old. I married my husband Mark 2 years ago, and we've been living together, just the two of us. We were classmates at the same university. We became friends through studying and hanging out together. After graduating, we went to work at different companies, but we were close enough to meet up regularly on weekends. We started dating when I was 26, and 6 months later, we got engaged. I was thrilled to get married to him.
Now that we are married, what are you going to do about your job?
I will keep working. We need to make sure we have enough money for our future baby. I could have been a housewife since I enjoyed keeping the house in order, but I chose to work instead, thinking about our future. However, when the busy season came and I had to work late every day, we began to clash over the housework. Even though Mark came home first, he ignored responsibility for chores and spent his time watching TV. I had expected him to be more productive at home, since we both had full-time jobs. If you got home before me, why don't you take care of the house? I've been exhausted from the busy season, so let's help out each other out here.
I know you're busy, but you know my nature, right? I can clean up after myself, and I'm not suited for housework. I'm actually making more money than you, so it's okay for me to laze around at home, right? It's your decision to keep working anyway. I didn't agree on sharing the chores.
He did make a better income than me, indeed. I admired and respected him for that, but I was getting fed up with him for pushing all the chores on me without the slightest cooperation from him. He had a younger sister, Sandy, who was married with a 1-year-old child. My in-laws lived a half-hour drive from us, but she lived about a 15-minute walk away, so we often saw each other. "Hi, Sandy. Your kid is really cute. I know it must be tough raising a child, but if you need anything, you can always count on me." "Thank you. I hope you have a baby soon, too." I took time out of my busy schedule to learn about child education so that I could put it into practice as soon as I had one. I felt like I could get through my stress better by thinking about my bright future. One day, however, something unexpected happened. While I was at work, I received a call from Alice, my mother-in-law. "Sandy was in a hit and run last night around 10 p.m. "No way! Really? How is she now?" I could not hide my shock and hoped that she was all right. What Alice said next was outrageous. "How dare you pretend like you don't know? She was injured because of you. Even Edward is furious that you hurt her. How are you going to take responsibility for this?" She was upset that I was the cause of the accident. "Excuse me? What are you talking about?" Don't play dumb with me. Edward told me exactly what happened. I couldn't understand what she was talking about. Edward took over the phone and explained to me what had happened. According to him, it started with Sandy's husband getting wasted at home. He started ranting and raving about the child's cry, and even went so far as to throw things around. Sensing that she was in danger, Sandy took the child and came to my house for refuge, but I turned her away. She was in despair and was on the way back home when she was hit by a moped. She suffered a broken leg, but both of them avoided life-threatening injuries. I was relieved to hear that. There was one thing that bothered me though. I was not at home around 10 p.m. the night before, but I supposedly turned her away. I was still working at my office around that time, so I didn't see her in the first place. It makes no sense what you are saying.
Can anyone confirm your alibi?
Well, I really don't know anything, believe me. I tried my best to explain the misunderstanding, but my in-laws didn't listen to me. They were angry and hung up on me. I had no recollection of what they had said, but one thing was certain. Mark must have been home last night around that time. Let's ask him. Maybe he can tell me what happened. Assuming that he was somehow involved, I decided to tell him about the call and question him. I left work early and returned home in the early evening. He came back later that night.
I'm back. I'm so tired. Honey, can you make dinner fast? I'm starving.
Hey, hon. How was your day? I want to ask you something before dinner, okay?
Yeah, what's up?
Did Sandy come over last night around 10 p.m.?
Yes, she did.
So it was true that she showed up at our house.
She must have been running with her kid in tow, 'cause she was out of breath.
And did you let them in?
No, I didn't. The TV show was just getting better.
I was speechless at his selfish reason for not letting them in. What kind of excuse is that? You couldn't let them in regardless of the TV or whatever, right?
Oh, but you remember? You told me not to let them see the messy house when she comes over, didn't you? If I had let them in, you must have been mad at me. It's your fault for not cleaning. I was just following what you told me to do.
He countered with a smart-ass comment.
If anything, you should be thanking me for not making you look like a useless housewife who can't even clean.
He was getting smug. You really refuse to clean up after yourself, do you? I did say that before, but under the circumstances, you should have let her in, don't you think? She needed refuge because of her husband's violent outburst. You turned her away, and then she got into an accident. You may not be directly responsible, but you're at least a little bit at fault. I blamed him, but he showed no sign of remorse. You were just being nice when you told her to count on you for anything, right? The moped that ran over her was at fault anyway. It was her fault too for walking around aimlessly at night. I just refused to let her in. I don't see why I should be blamed for it. Most importantly, she survived, so let's not talk about it anymore. He ended the conversation forcefully with a snicker and went out to get something at a deli. I noticed that there was a discrepancy between what he said and what my in-laws had told me. I immediately called my in-laws and explained everything he said. Mark just told me about last night. It seems that he was the only one at home and turned Sandy away. I guess this proves that I was not at home, right? Can you still say it was my fault? I thought it was enough to clear my name, but Edward insisted. How can I believe such a thing?
You're such a coward. You're just trying to get away by blaming Mark.
He still blamed me and didn't want to hear any of my argument after that. I assumed he didn't want to believe that his son was at fault for hurting another beloved family member. I got it, but I could not just back down. 3 days later, I went to my in-laws' house. I was determined to prove that I was not at home that night and that I was nothing but innocent. After explaining the situation to my supervisor, I got my time card and a still image of me working in the office at the time of the accident. I had enough proof. When I arrived at their house, I explained the reason for my visit. Thank you for taking the time to see me today. During our phone call the other day, you accused me of turning Sandy away. I would like to clear my name here today.
Well, you sound confident.
I see. Let's hear it. Sandy was also present with a cast on her leg. I explained to them about the night of the accident. How about it now? Is there anything you're still bothered about? Then Sandy said, I was sure that you're at home. I was perplexed to see her, truly looking confused. Well, I didn't really see you, but I heard a woman humming in the bathroom. Mark went to ask you if we could come in. You supposedly said no, so we turned away. Hold on a second. Who was the woman in the bathroom? I called Mark to come over quickly, and the family members crowded around him intently.
Oh, come on. You're still talking about it. I only turned her away because Emily told me to. It wasn't my fault.
He still showed an unchanging attitude. Sandy said there was a woman in the bathroom. Who was she?
She's just a friend. She was helping me clean up because you were neglecting your chores. It's your fault after all, for causing me trouble to get help from her.
He insisted that he had nothing to do with the accident. You know, I didn't want to show you these right here, but you recognize them, don't you? I presented pictures to them. Those were of a strand of hair that was not mine on the bed, and of a used condom that he forgot to put away. Mark broke out in a cold sweat. You sent Sandy away, and when I came home, you were sleeping on the sofa in the living room. I thought you would catch your cold, so I went into the bedroom to get a blanket. I found the hair and the condom there. Your untidy nature got the best of you. Did you seriously think that I wouldn't find out? He had turned Sandy away because he didn't want us to find out about the affair. He was unable to say anything in the face of conclusive evidence. Apparently, he had been seeing his adulteress every day, taking advantage of the fact that I had been working overtime. He brought her home for the first time that night because he was running out of money before payday. While everyone was in an uproar over his affair, I received a call. I asked one of our neighbors who had a surveillance camera to check the footage of the time Sandy came over. It showed that a short time after Sandy left, a moped came out of my driveway at a great speed. Wait! No way! The driver of the moped it was the adulteress. It turned out that the person who hit and injured Sandy was Mark's lover. The truth about the accident was revealed, and the case was settled. My in-laws and I were outraged that Mark was the culprit in all of that.
I don't remember raising you to be like this. You can't take care of your sister or wife, and you can't even clean after yourself. You can't even get ahead in life.
You really are the worst brother. Do you know how hard Emily works at her job and takes care of her home? Not only does she do all that, but she helps me as well. She's a way better person than you. I am ashamed to be the sister of an idiot. I'm not going to stay with you after this. I've put up with your laziness for a long time, but I've reached my limit and I'm tired of it. Besides, you take advantage of my busy schedule and cheat on me. You're nothing but a scumbag. I'm getting a divorce. Mark was in a complete state of distress.
Please forgive me, please.
He was on his knees apologizing, but none of that made any difference to us. A few days later, I filed for divorce. I demanded a large amount of alimony from Mark to make amends for his past mistakes. When the hit-and-run driver was arrested, we found out that she was a colleague of Mark. Sandy charged her for the injury and emotional distress. Later, she was fired from her job.
I got fired because of you, moron.
Your sister is coming after me with a hefty compensation, and I'm screwed. She cursed Mark in a vulgar manner like a truck driver. Even though they were at work, she could care less to be loud and violent. Mark had blamed me for everything and didn't have a gut to argue against her. Then, he became uncomfortable at work and left the company voluntarily. He spent way too much on the adulteress that his savings were almost gone. He couldn't afford to pay the alimony and was having a hard time finding a new job. He works part-time jobs to pay the rest of the alimony, while living in a dodgy apartment now. My in-laws visited me after everything was settled.
We are very sorry for doubting you and making rude remarks about you. I sincerely apologize.
I am sorry too for having spoken so harshly to you. I know the affair of my son came as a shock to you as well. Please let bygones be bygones. I know that my brother has deeply hurt you, and that I myself doubted you a little. I'm really sorry. And thank you for finding the real culprit for me. They apologized profusely for doubting me and for the affair. By the way, Sandy and her husband are also getting a divorce due to his drinking problem. She and her child are now living with her parents. I'm still on good terms with my ex-in-laws. Mark blamed others for all of his mistakes, which came back to hurt him later on. I should honestly admit my mistakes and live my life with pride so that I can move on to the next chapter.